making the accessories for my mascot head over here. You can't buy most of the stuff that goes on here that we can make him ears, eyes, teeth, etc. in a store, so it has to be produced. And the easiest way to do that is to pattern it out. Here's a piece of cheap 1-inch EVA foam, and I will start patterning it out. One thing you'll need is the parts that you want to be patterned, which I have here for his ears. I need padding to go inside of his headgear, which I will place on here. And another quick tip is when you're working with black EVA foam, it's nice to have an assortment of Sharpies, and when it comes to the black, I like to use the silver. And patterning it is really simple. You're just tracing everything out like that. And what's nice about this EVA foam is once it's even patterned out, you can shape it in many, many ways. Another thing you want to indicate is if something's cut in or if something's cut out. I like to do arrows here, here, and then write the degree, approximately 30 degrees. This will change because this head is not symmetrical, so we'll sand it and we'll get a proper fit before we start covering this in foam and fabric. 30 degrees, 30 degrees. It also helps if you want to write in, because you're going to do two cuts, in or out. In this case, when you're looking at this, it goes in. Also on this one, it goes in. And we're going to pattern up these really quickly too. This is just the headgear padding that I took out of it. And I want to replace that and put something a little more durable inside. I'll just write headgear on here. Just make sure everything is nice and neat. Another thing, I have another small piece of EVA over here. He's going to have warts on his forehead. He's going to have 5 or 6. We'll switch over to the black Sharpie. And I'm just making various sized circles for his head. With this all patterned out, we'll set this aside and we're going to start working on his eyes. Now his eyes, unlike most mascot heads you see at conventions and things, they're flat. I don't want flat eyes. I want a kind of a round eye that kind of pops out a little bit. And the easiest way to do that is to make them out of Kydex. If you're not familiar what this kind of Kydex is, this is perforated Kydex. I get mine from a supplier from Pennsylvania who does haunted attractions, and they're very generous to kind of just give me their scraps of stuff they don't use. So one thing I learned about trying to find this stuff, it is very, very expensive. Regular Kydex isn't that bad. This is the perforated kind of Kydex. It's like a screening material. Once heated, it is a little bit flexible. And once again, it is very, very pricey because this essentially has to be manufactured for you. And just an example of price-wise, I would say if you're going to try to find this and buy a sheet roughly the size 6x4 or 5x4, it's going to cost you multiples of hundreds of dollars to get it. So if you're nice enough and you can locate people who find this, just kind of say, hey, can I have your scraps? And if you're nice enough, maybe they'll let you do that. But this is what the eyes are going to be made out of. And I'm going to show you how to pattern those out. First, what we need is some scrap styrene. This is just some of the remnants of me working on masks, and you want it roughly the size of the eye holes. And right now we're just gonna, doesn't have to be perfect, we're just patterning this out. Kydex, or with styrene, you just have to mark it and split it. Just kind of bend it, hopefully that crease will pop. And kind of get an estimate on what size the eye is. One thing I like to do is, when I mark, people goes, what's right and what's left. If you're looking at this is the left, this is the right. But I like to mark it as if you're looking at it, or looking through it. So, if you're looking through it from the reverse, then this becomes the left eye, this becomes the right, and that's how I'm going to put it down on here. Left eye, right eye. And this is, of course, going to be the back of our pattern. So, you go through again, right eye. And you just kind of hold that there. Sorry. And you want to trace out this eye. That's simple. You also want to mark on here itself, top and bottom, and then we'll do the same with this one. Left eye, top and bottom. Easy peasy. This may be a little loud. I have no idea. I've never filmed myself cutting. But for my pattern cutouts, I like to use my scroll saw. You can use a bandsaw. You can use razors, whatever you need. But I prefer a scroll saw because it's generally considered a very safe tool to have around your shop. And there's been times when I've went in here and I've accidentally touched the blade and quite literally nicked myself because it's a lower power tool. I had basically just a scratch. So another thing, I always wear safety glasses when operating machinery, even if it's something as simple as a scroll saw. A little bit of light. And let's start cutting. One thing I want to do with these two ear patterns is I'm only going to cut from here, from the arrows around, because this is a straight cut. I won't have to adjust the blade, and so I want to save this material so I have something for my blade to bite into. When you're doing a round cut like this, what I like to do, especially in EVA foam, is press my thumb into roughly the center point of a circle. That gives me a nice fulcrum so that I can go around with ease. And I'm just turning the foam, I'm not forcing it through. I'm just guiding it through the blade, and it gives you a nice round smooth cut. Now I don't have to do much sanding or anything to it later. Nice, fairly straight edges for foam. This is kind of cheap EVA foam. But as you can see, and I'll be back once the other one's cut out to show you the rest. I'm back. Now I'm going to set this up so that we can start doing this 30-degree cut. 30-degree cut. All right, now for the 30-degree cuts. Another thing I wanted to show you really quickly is always be mindful where your cut is, whether it's cutting in or if it's cutting out. Usually kind of figure out if it's going in on the bottom, out on the top. Or at least that's the way I remember it. Set my table back up to 90 degrees.